Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, The Little Bit of Everything. I'm Jayashmita. So in today's video, I thought I would do something a bit different. I haven't made any video like this on my channel on lifestyle before. So it's like a different take on lifestyle content. And let me know if you enjoy these sort of videos because I know I will definitely enjoy filming more of these. Leave a comment below if you are liking this sort of video. So today I decided that no lifestyle content can ever be complete without including books, and if you are not a bibliophile yet, I'm here to inspire you to become one and pick up a book and get lost in the pages of some fantasy land. So with that said, I will be covering today some of the best fantasy young adult novels or series or books, and I have picked all of these books or series based on my opinion, based on what I like, and I would really like to share it with you. And I also picked the fantasy genre because it's a very easy to read genre. You can immediately immerse yourself into the world of magic, mystical creatures, demons, loyal humans, powerful humans, and epic battles. So it is one of my favorite genres. In fact, I grew up reading a lot of fantasy novels, and I want to share with you my top picks for fantasy novels. And if you are a new reader or if you want to explore the genre a little bit more, then these recommendations are perfect for you. So with that said, let us get into the top recommendations for fantasy young adult books or series. I don't think any fantasy young adult series would ever be complete without this novel because it is the father of all things fantasy. It started everything, and if you don't already know what I'm talking about, that is Lord of the Rings. This is the collector's edition. This contains all the 3 books from the Lord of the Rings series, which is the Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, and Return of the King. This book by J.R.R. Tolkien started the journey, the epic journey into the land of fantasy with elves and wizards and hobbits and dragons and everything that you can ever imagine. This birthed it all. Every other novel that I have read after this draws heavy inspiration from J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings series. Thus, you have to read this. You cannot enter into the world of fantasy books without reading Lord of the Rings. My only advice when you're reading this is do not buy this fat ass collector's edition because it is a real pain in the ass. You cannot carry it with you anywhere. It's very difficult to read because it is so thick, and I would suggest to buy the 3 books separately. It's much easier to read. You won't lose patience while trying to handle this fat book. So I faced that problem, so I'm telling it to you. This book is not just going to be a gateway into the world of fantasy for you, but this is an excellent literary feat. It has pages of lucid description of sceneries. It builds the character so cleverly, so deftly that you can almost feel the character present next to you, and the battle scenes are described so vividly. It's almost as good as watching a Netflix movie. It's a literary genius, and it's also the first ever book that is going to give you the full picture of what started the entire fantasy genre. I cannot recommend this book enough. This is going to be very helpful to help you develop your literary skills and just get into the flow of reading. This by no means is a very easy read, so you can't just pick it up like, okay, I have nothing to do, let me read Lord of the Rings. It requires a good amount of concentration for you to get through this book. If you don't already know what Lord of the Rings is about, it is essentially about the victory of good over evil. A group of elves, humans, and hobbits and wizards team up together to fight the Dark Lord of Mordor, and based on a ring which gives a person who wears it ultimate power. So you have to read it because it is so symbolic in so many places that you will find yourself relating many of the things written in this book to your life in general. The next series I have to talk about is much easier than the Lord of the Rings series when it comes to the literature and how it's written, and it is also catering to the younger teens. Lord of the Rings can be read at any age really. I've classified it as young adult because most young adults tend to read fantasy more than adults, but really Lord of the Rings is such a mature novel that it can be read at any point in time. But the Red Queen series is specifically for the young teenagers or early 20s. The Red Queen series is again a fantasy novel that has depicts a story of two different bloodlines, the Silver Blood and the Red Bloods. The Silver Blooded individuals own a lot of power and they wield magic in the form of controlling wind, water, and other elements, and controlling minds, becoming invisible. And while the red blooded human beings serve them sort of like slaves. This is a story about a rebellion and how to overthrow a kingdom of corrupt individuals. The Red Queen has very easy writing, it is not complex, and it also has a very heavy dose of romance. So if you like fantasy novels with a lot of romance, then this is the one for you. It shows a red-blooded female lead called Mare Barrow and how she falls in love with two silver brothers of noble lineage, and how she joins the rebellion to overthrow this corrupt kingdom. And it is also a series of 4 books: The Red Queen, The Glass Sword, The King's Cage, and The War Storm. Because The War Storm left a lot of loose ends and unanswered questions, the author had to release a collection of short stories to tie up the loose ends, which is called The Broken Throne. So essentially, to get the big picture, the entire picture of the kingdom that is mentioned in the Red Queen series, you have to read 5 books. And look at the cover. I'm so sad that I did not get to read this book in by holding it, the physical copy. I was reading an ebook because I do not have the option of buying a lot of physical copies and carrying it with me when I travel. I loved it. I devoured the entire series in a period of 4 days, and I would highly recommend this book to anyone who's beginning to read and who's not very sure if they can pull through the book, because it's very fast paced. And the Red Queen, the ending has such a gut-wrenching plot twist that it left me in a mess, and I couldn't stop until I had finished the entire series. The next series that absolutely blew my mind, and I haven't yet finished reading the series because it's so huge, is the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. Now, this one again, I really regret that I could not pick up the actual paperback or the hardcover version, because the covers are so nice. As with the Red Queen series, the Throne of Glass series also has excellent covers. This series is pretty huge. It contains 7 books: Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, Heir of Fire, Queen of Shadows, Empire of Storm, Tower of Dawn, and Kingdom of Ash. So it's a seriously long series which requires serious concentration, and I would not recommend it for the first time readers or people who are not used to fat books, because as the series progresses, each book becomes fatter. If I had to compare the Throne of Glass series, I would compare it with Game of Thrones, minus the theatrical candid scenes and the unnecessary gore and drama. But this series is really mature, and as it goes on, the plot thickens and it sort of grows with you. Initially, the series starts with the lead female character, Selena Sardothian, who is like a lethal female assassin, the kingdom's most deadly assassin, and she is offered chance at freedom by serving as the king's champion. And then it follows her journey, and it shows that she's so much more than just another glorified killer. You sort of grow into her character and you grow with her, and after the 3rd book there is some serious plot shift and a lot of new characters get added into the book, and a lot of subplots are there, but it's not like it's all over the place. When you're reading, you have this distinct feeling that all of these subplots are going to converge and they're going to give you one epic, one hell of an ending, which I am yet to see. I really hope it does not disappoint like Game of Thrones, but it has that same political intrigue, the demons, the magic, fairies and wizards and wicked witches and even dragons. It really has everything that you can want for in a fantasy novel, along with romance. And it also has some popular tropes like enemies to lovers, then prince or nobility falling in love with a common person, and all of that. So it is a complete package when it comes to the fantasy series, and there is really nothing that this series does not touch upon. Throne of Glass is one of the best. It has a very steady pace, and you can like pick it up and devour book after book, and in days, I'm sure if you are a prolific reader, then in a few days you should be able to complete the entire series. The next book I want to discuss is one of the best fantasy YA series or books, is The Inheritance Cycle by Christopher Paolini. Now, Aragon, the first book of the series, is probably the first fantasy novel that I have read, and I have read it more than once. I think I've read it 3 times, and how it made me feel is still etched in my memory. I could not wait for the next book, the sequel called The Eldest, to come out, and I have read this almost 2 decades ago, and to read a book that creates that much of an impact that you still remember how it made you feel 2 decades later, that is something that you really need to read. Aragon is again a very easy read, and it is catering towards the early teens or mid-teens age group. So it is perfect for school-going teenagers, and maybe not that good for mature young adults in the 20s. Inheritance Cycle is essentially a series of 4 books: Aragon, Eldest, Brissinger, and Inheritance. And all of these 4 books follow the journey of this boy called Aragon, who has accidentally stumbled upon a very rare dragon egg, and he ends up being a dragon rider trained by the village storyteller called Brom. It has elves, it has magic, it has dragons, and it also draws heavily from the J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. So it is definitely a complete package for someone who's just beginning to get into the fantasy world. So this is the book Inheritance. I do not know what happened to the 3 others that I had. It's been such a long time since I remembered this book, and I really hope that you enjoy reading this series as much as I did. I would have to say that the first book, Aragon, is excellent. You will read through it in a jiffy. Eldest is also great. It's fast-paced. It's very beautifully written. Brissinger is a little bit disappointing because it slows down and goes into a lot of details about the life, and it tries to develop the characters, but I think it does not do a very good job in developing the characters. And Inheritance sort of sums up the entire series pretty well. But if you are looking for a romance fantasy YA novel, then this may be a little bit disappointing, because from the romantic angle, it does not give you the ending that most readers would expect. So that concludes my video, the first video on my favorite fantasy YA books or series. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and please do leave a comment below as to what is your favorite fantasy YA series, and I would really like to check it out. I love new book recommendations, and if you did enjoy this sort of video, leave a comment below as well as to what sort of book related videos you would like to see next. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe. I try to come out with a video maybe once or twice a week. Thank you so much for watching this video. Until the next video, bye.